American English script, YouTube version. Use just two simple words, and you might notice something shift in how she looks at you. But before I tell you what those words are, you need to understand why they work. Because if you skip this part, the words alone won't do anything for you. Here's what nobody talks about. Open loop number 1. If you've ever felt like you were doing everything right, saying the right things, showing up, putting in the effort, and still watch the connection slowly go cold, that's not bad luck. That's not even your fault. The real problem is that nobody ever explained how attraction is actually processed in the female mind. Women evolved with an incredibly refined social radar, subtle facial expressions, tiny shifts in tone, even brief pauses in conversation. Her nervous system picks all of that up almost instantly before conscious thought even begins. And here's the thing most guys never realize: when you're performing, she feels it. Not consciously, but somewhere deep in her nervous system, she registers it as slightly off, slightly inauthentic. That's why scripts don't work long term. That's why techniques fall apart under pressure. What actually works is something called emotional congruence, when who you are matches what you say. That's when real attraction starts to build. Now, I'm about to give you the first word. Close loop number 1, open loop number 2. But I want you to pay close attention to why it works, because the psychology behind it is what makes it so powerful. The first word is interesting, not as a filler, not as an empty compliment, as an anchor for your presence. Here's what I mean. Picture this: a woman shares something unusual, maybe an opinion you don't fully agree with. Most guys respond one of two ways. They either immediately agree to avoid any tension, or they pivot the conversation right back to themselves. Both of those responses, they signal insecurity. A grounded man does something different. He pauses. He meets her eyes with genuine curiosity. And he says, "That's interesting. Tell me more about that." Simple. But here's what's happening underneath that moment at a subconscious level. She's receiving 3 signals simultaneously. 1, you're not threatened by her perspective. 2, you have your own center, your own point of view, and you can hold it alongside hers. 3, you're actually present, not thinking about what to say next, not managing your image, just there. Research shows that sustained curiosity is one of the strongest drivers of human connection. When a woman feels genuinely interesting to a man, not because he's trying to impress her, but because he's actually listening, her brain releases dopamine and oxytocin. She starts associating you with the feeling of being seen. Most men try to appear impressive. The man who's actually magnetic, he chooses to be interested. Now, if you're finding this valuable so far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because the second word is where it gets even more powerful. And honestly, most guys completely misuse it. Close loop number 2, open loop number 3. The second word is no. Not harsh, not cold, just calm, clear, delivered without hesitation. Think about the last time you saw a man decline something from an attractive woman. Without wavering, without over-explaining, without softening it until the word lost all its meaning. It's rare, right? When men feel attracted to someone, a lot of them become yes men. They agree with everything. They shift their opinions. They cancel plans. They compromise their own values, all to keep her approval. And here's the truth that most dating advice will never tell you. That behavior doesn't build attraction. It destroys it. The female attraction system is wired to notice men with a stable sense of identity. And when you calmly say no, whether it's declining an unreasonable request or simply disagreeing with an idea, you're sending a rare signal. You don't need her approval to feel okay about yourself. Psychologists call this non-reactive confidence. And it's a cornerstone of masculine presence. I worked with a client. I'll call him Marcus. He wasn't wealthy. He didn't have some athlete's physique. But he carried himself with this quiet, calm certainty. A younger friend once asked him how he seemed to naturally attract so many women. Marcus smiled and said, "I stopped performing, and I started paying attention." One time, a woman he was dating asked him to cancel all his weekend plans for a last-minute trip she'd arranged. Marcus looked at her and said, "I can't this weekend. I've had plans for a month. Let's figure something out for next week. She pushed back. He just smiled. I hear you, but this weekend doesn't work for me. She didn't get upset. She looked at him with respect, because a man who can say no, especially when yes would be so much easier, is a man who feels trustworthy. Close loop number 3. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Interesting and no. These aren't manipulation tactics. They're not lines you rehearse. They're reflections of an inner state. Interesting says, I'm secure enough to be genuinely curious about you. No says, I'm secure enough to maintain who I am. Together, they create the one quality women consistently describe as the most attractive thing in a man: authenticity. And you don't have to wait to build this. You can start today. In your next conversation, practice real curiosity. Ask a follow-up question you actually care about. And this week, say no to something small. A friend asking a favor you don't want to do. Say no, without a paragraph of explanation, without guilt. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're the structure of self-respect. Now, drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 2 words do you feel like you need to practice most? Interesting or no? I read every single comment, and if this video opens something up for you, subscribe, because what I'm covering next goes even deeper into the psychology of presence and what actually makes a man unforgettable. I'll see you in the next one.